President Donald Trump is in campaign mode tonight, holding a rally in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Over the weekend, former South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford announced he's going to challenge the president in the 2020 Republican presidential primary. But Arizona Republicans, they may not even get the chance to vote for a presidential nominee. The Arizona GOP filed a letter to the Secretary of State to skip next year's presidential preference election, essentially handing all the state's delegates to President Trump. We've got political editor Dennis Welch now joining me in studio for this one. So break it down. What does all this mean?
Well, first of all, it's important to point out right now that the president is facing three primary challengers, but Arizona's 1.3 million registered Republicans not going to get a chance to vote for any of them or the president in March. Now, this has opened up the president to some criticism. He's trying to game the system ahead of that 2020 Republican convention, even though both parties have opted out of Arizona's version of the presidential primary when their candidate was in the White House.
The election is being rigged.
A rigged system.
Rigged.
In 2016, Donald Trump won the Republican nomination and the presidency by running against what he called a rigged system. Now some are saying that he is the one rigging the system for his own benefit.
It's not anything nefarious. It's pretty routine.
Republican political consultant Chuck Coughlin points out that both parties have canceled preference elections here in Arizona when their candidate was the incumbent. In 1996, Arizona Democrats canceled the primary competition for Bill Clinton as he ran for a second term. Republicans followed in 2004 for George Bush, and Democrats again cleared the path for Barack Obama in 2012.
It's a sign of the times that people are going to use that as an example to go, oh, you know, another Trump thing.
Trump currently faces three long-shot challengers in the primary. And by withdrawing from the March election, Arizona joins three other states who won't give them a chance to compete against the president.
They're making sure they're not going to have a public fight. They're trying to make sure that this looks like Trump has got the rubber stamp of approval.
Democratic consultant Chad Campbell is a fierce critic of the president. But when it comes to foregoing elections, he says there is blame on both sides of the aisle.
Well, again, I don't think this should ever be done. I'm not defending anything in the past. This should never be done. You should always have an open, competitive, presidential preference type style election.
Now, the Secretary of State's office here in Arizona tells me that canceling that Republican preference election is going to lower the cost. Now, initial estimates for that election, with both parties participating, was $10 million. Now, that has since been revised down to $7 million. However, the Secretary of State also warns they still might not have enough money because the GOP-led legislature only appropriated about $4.5 million to hold that election.
So, Dennis, is this anything the voters could actually say, hey, we want this to happen, and do anything about it? Or?
No, the parties control this. And now this is actually the bigger controversy here. I mean, you get people on both sides of the aisle really complaining about this. Is the parties actually control it. You have to be a member of the party to get in that or request a ballot if you're an independent. But yet the taxpayers still put up the money for the parties to hold their elections.
Have the ballots printed.
And a lot of people are saying, hey, look, that's not what, if you guys want to hold your election, then you guys pay for it.
All right. Thanks for looking into that, Dennis. And speaking of the election, let's get to the Democratic side of things, because a new CBS News Battleground Tracker poll shows a shuffle at the top tier of Democratic presidential contenders in the important early primary state of New Hampshire. Senator Elizabeth Warren has a 1-point edge over former Vice President Joe Biden, 26% to 25%. Senator Bernie Sanders is also gaining some ground. Another poll on Democratic voters was conducted across the first 18 caucus and primary states, and Warren has a sizable enthusiasm lead amongst the front-runner Democrats. The third round of Democratic presidential debates is set for Thursday in Houston. The field in this round has been whittled down to 10 candidates, including all of the candidates you see on the screen.